Hello, and thank you for joining us again. We are in the lesson program, the series called Church Development. We are in the middle of Course 2. This is a 3-course series, and we are in the middle of Course 2. There will be a link in the description below where you can see this document online. If you haven't already done so, you should be able to get a PDF of this or a hard copy from the person who invited you to the seminars that we will be attending soon. If you have questions, you can feel free to message me on there. I'll leave my email address. You can email me. We had talked about before how change is necessary in the things that we do in church. And then we looked at 3 groups of people, just talked about them. Once we have the visitors, we have the once in a while attendees and the regular attendees. We discussed the visitors last time. This time we'll look at once in a while attendees and regular attendees. Remember, this video series is just to get your mind rolling on the things that we need to think about in our church as we engage the community and we engage our congregation. So please write down any questions that you have, keep a note of them, and when we meet face to face, we'll talk about those things. We'll go through some role play, and we'll find out what works for your mission team or your Sunday school class or your congregation in general or your community outreach, whatever it is. These are just principles that you can apply across a broad range of church activities. The once in a while attendees, there's a key difference between once in a while attendees and visitors. So I'm just going to call these once in a whilers. The once in a whilers, we don't have to ask a lot about them because they're a part of us. If they have a history of hurt, if there are problems in their life that keep them from being there all the time, if they like tradition or don't like tradition, we kind of know about them if they've been attending with us very much. We've kind of scoped that out in our experience, and certainly if we're being aware and we're looking with grace at a person's life. So there's not as much as we need to learn about them perhaps as we do the person that's just there for the first and maybe only time. But we still want to address them with grace. Now, the once in a while attenders, there's something in their life that's connecting them socially or spiritually or emotionally to the church. And we need to find out with grace what that is. And this can be simply through listening sessions where we talk to them personally, the pastor or someone. Glad you're here. Notice you're here for our Easter program. Wonderful. Tell me, please, if you would, what makes you want to come to our Easter program, and have a little bit of conversation with them. You're not asking a lot of questions. We learned that last time. We don't want to make people feel that they're answering a quiz every time they come to church. But we want to begin to delve deeper so we can begin to learn and kind of piece together in who we are as a ministry and who they are as an individual, why we're not engaging them in a deeper way. It simply could be that their lifestyle, their work, their physical limitations, their responsibilities of caring for an elder, whatever. It could be a bazillion things that are happening in their life that keep them from being able to keep the church calendar schedule of being there a lot. And we want to be aware of that because that might mean we can minister to them outside of our traditional times and traditional ways. We want to identify as why they're in this group, why they're part of the once in a whilers. And we're not going to do that by saying, why do you just come once in a while? Again, this is learning about their lives. And to learn about their lives, we only have to ask very few questions and do a lot of listening. And that takes time, but it's so very necessary. Once we've kind of identified what interests them, what brings them to the times that they come, and what keeps them from coming to those things that they don't engage in, then we can think of possible adjustments to increase their involvement. I found this one time in a situation where the person didn't come very often, and it was simply because there was a health issue that they had kind of kept shielded to themselves. And the way they were blessed is that someone was going to their church on every time they weren't, and this was, we didn't do this, but we talked to them about realizing this was a need that they have. And they enjoyed the fact that someone would come to them and bring communion to them when they couldn't come to church. But they didn't want to ask for that. because they felt it would be a burden. Well, let me tell you, as a pastor, if somebody comes to me and say, Pastor, I'm thankful to come to church. I can't come as often as I would like to. The next time you have communion, could you schedule somebody to come to me and bring it to me in my home or in my rehab center or my hospital room? Man, you better believe it. We're going to make sure that happens. But you see, if we just kind of said, oh, that person just comes every once in a while because, we didn't find out why, then we would have missed that opportunity. So dealing with once in a while takes a lot of listening. We welcome them the same as visitors. We do it with grace. We don't necessarily need to inform the same way because they know everything about us or a lot about us, but we do enough listening and enough gracious delving to begin to find out how we can meet some needs perhaps that aren't on the surface. The last thing that we see in this course too is regular attendees. And regular attendees fall into those who attend, but they don't engage. Okay, they're spectators. Those who attend and engage, but they require a lot of work. And you know who these people are. I'm not talking about somebody who's new to a set of responsibilities or new to change in our church. That takes a lot of direction and hands-on from the leadership. I'm talking about people who just doing anything in the church, you have to specifically ask them, you have to specifically encourage them, you have to specifically direct them, you have to specifically follow up. And so you can't just say, here's a task, we've taught you how to do this task, we're thankful for that, and then a month later you kind of peek in the door of what they're doing, so to speak. This is somebody who needs hands-on work. And so we need to learn how to, as pastors, and those overall leadership, we need to learn how to target the people in our congregation who are faithful, who can then kind of supervise, if you will, or direct, can shepherd in a personal way what these individuals who are regular attenders, and they do engage, but they need a lot of encouragement and hands-on touch to stay engaged in a useful way. We as leaders need to not be the ones always personally shepherding them. We need to find an under shepherd who can engage those people and work with them and encourage them. That leaves the leader's time to shepherd the under shepherds. Okay? And then we have those people who attend and engage and they require very little work. Well, these are our leaders. So if you have someone who intends to engage, they require very little work. They may not be the type who can be a shepherd to someone else, but they can certainly be the example. They can certainly be the ones who teach others who are new to volunteering on the things that they're supposed to do, things that they can do, how they fulfill the ministry. So identify these people who attend and engage. They really don't require a lot of work. Are we properly communicating to them how important they are to us? Are we properly utilizing them without overworking them? And we need to be aware of that too. Sometimes we find the people that are willing to do a lot of different things with very little input from us as leaders. And you know what? We just keep throwing work at them. And eventually we put on the straw that breaks the camel's back. So we want to be careful of that too. So each one of these layers of persons needs to be handled with a lot of grace and a lot of patience. We'll talk about those different temperaments, those different personalities, if you will, when we meet in our seminar together. So you be thinking about where people in your church might fit these three categories, and let's be ready to discuss it together, okay? Thank you once again for joining us. I look forward to you as we join Course 3, the final course in this series, in our next video. God bless.